originating from the podcast studio inside FAM 360's headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast. The Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast is designed to encourage, equip, and inspire our audience through a combination of inspirational stories and real-life experiences shared by other successful and skilled leaders in a variety of vocations. We hope that the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast empowers each one of us to step out, step up, and ultimately thrive as leaders. Now here's our host, Mr. Matt Maloney.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Matt Maloney. I'm excited and grateful that we get to continue our conversation with Miss Julie Miles. So today we're going to get to learn a little bit more about Julie from a personal perspective. But again, if you didn't hear the last episode, we learned a number of things. We learned how Julie is a health and wellness coach for Beauty for Broken wellness. She's passionate about emotional intelligence, leadership, focusing on leading really first and foremost oneself before leading others. She's worked with countless people. Her career really started as a counselor and then over time morphed into her becoming a life coach for dozens and dozens of people, individuals, families. And she really teaches us how to obtain and sustain a healthy lifestyle rhythms for optimal physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Miss Julie Miles.
Awesome. So glad to be here.
So I thought we'd start off with something really just fun. Like, let's do some icebreakers here because I want the audience to get to know you personally a little bit more on today's episode, as much as you want to share. but these are easy. These are easy, I promise you.
Okay.
So I'd like to start off with these fun questions. So if you could go back and pick another career, what would it be? Like, do you ever think back, man, I would really have liked to have done this?
Yeah, that's so funny that you asked me that now. I've always wanted to be in the helping field. So I'm doing what I love to do. But if I were to go back right now and do it, I would probably be a functional medicine practitioner because there is so much I've learned in the last this last leg of my certification in wellness coaching, that how much our physical well-being impacts everything else.
Sure.
I mean, they all connect together, physical, emotional, and spiritual.
Yeah. But
just that physical piece, we can just be out of balance physically and need supplementation or, things, lifestyle changes that impact. And so I definitely, that would be my second career.
That's cool. That's interesting. And it's very specific and thoughtful. Sometimes I'll ask guests and they're like, well, I would be a, circus ringleader because I get to deal, but that was good. I love that. All right. So what do you do in your spare time for fun? Like, what are your hobbies? What do you do? What do you and your husband or family like to do?
Yeah. My family would say I'm probably the least fun because I like to have to keep things in order and keep the rhythms, going because the rest of my family's like, let's go, come on, whatever. Yeah. So, but I do, and sadly, I clean for fun sometimes because having a clean house
that makes you feel
happy.
good. Yeah, makes you happy.
But we enjoy.
Look, anything I guess could be fun. It just depends upon
that's right.
Who it is.
That's right. No, really, I do for enjoyment. We love family hikes. It brings our family together, and that's something that identifies our family, being outdoors and getting to be together and hiking in God's creation. And I do enjoy reading and writing and watching Hallmark movies. I know I'm one of those. I'm one of those people.
Oh yeah, this time of year especially, right?
I know, right?
Oh man. Yeah. So shifting to your personal life, tell us a little bit about your family. I mean, you mentioned about your husband. You mentioned that he was a great example of leadership and whatnot. But tell us about your family and maybe before your current family. Where did you grow up? Where were you born and raised? Because you said you moved to Georgia 12 to 15 years ago. So where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Oh, actually, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So I'm a Georgia peach, still Magnolia.
Yeah.
But we moved, I grew up high school years in St. Simons Island, Georgia, which is where my family, my mom and dad, and one of my sisters still lives.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Got married there.
Oh, amazing down there.
So that holds a special place in my heart. Then my husband and I were married in St. Simons and moved to South Carolina after we had our first child, who's now 21. She's graduating and getting married this month, actually.
Really?
So, yeah, I'm kind of in that lane right
Congratulations.
now.
Wow.
Thank you. He has two daughters who are my stepdaughters. They're 27, and so we are grandparents.
Wow.
We have a 21-year-old, and then our youngest 13-year-old is adopted. And so I kid with people all the time when I'm coaching moms. I'm like, I got you covered. I'm a grandma. I'm a adopted mom. I'm a stepmom, and I'm all the things.
All of them.
So which one
I've
do you need me?
walked those paths.
Which one do you need me to wear? Which hat? But yeah, what a blessing! It's given me
That
so
is a
much
blessing.
experience in dynamics of relationships, which is hugely important in my life. Yeah.
When you look back in your life and you look at where you're at today and what you're doing, and there's certainly been over time, as you can think back, all of us can point to people in our lives who were examples, good or bad, of leaders in our lives, or perhaps in lives of family members. And in one way, shape, or form, those both good and bad examples help shape us, perhaps shape us to move in another direction away from the bad, and perhaps shape us to move towards some of those family values or life values of the people that were good examples. So can you point to somebody in your past or in your life that were a good or bad example in leadership, and then just maybe share a little bit about why that person is resonating with you and how they maybe shaped you to who you are today?
The first two people that come to my mind are my maternal grandmother and my mother. They were strong, gentle women. And I think all my life I have wanted to be like them because they both endured incredible trials. My grandmother was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at age 40. Wow. And through my entire childhood, I watched her struggle and have to give up things that she loved, but she never, I cannot think of one time that she ever complained about it. And she was fierce, but yet gentle-spirited, always concerned with the people around her. I want to be like that. I want to be strong in my struggles. I want to allow my struggles to strengthen me and be grateful for them, but yet be gentle-minded to the people around me.
I think it's so important for us to look, back in our lives, and to this question. But I think it's so important to look back in our lives and look at, and whether it's people within our family, like it is with you, or people that are outside of our family, and just reflect on things that we have seen, experienced, and learned to help shape who we are. And I feel like today, and this is an opinion of mine, but it's through observation, I feel like today the world is so much more fickle and unstable, and I feel like that the number of those prior generations, they went through so much struggle, emotionally, physically, financially. Just life was much harder in many ways back then, and so it built up a fundamentally strong foundation in those people. And I can just think of countless people in my family and beyond that were from that generation that I just look up to so much, and I'm falling so short of what they were, but I want to so much be like them in many ways, and take on at least the character traits that I've seen in them that were so strong, as you just mentioned about your grandmother. So that's great.
Yeah, we're missing resilience in our generation.
That's a good way to put it.
To pick back up and embrace our struggles.
Yeah, that's good. So you talked about how you like order, and personally for you, that's one of the things. Who likes to clean for fun? I don't know. Yeah. Now I can resonate with, I like my place to be organized because I feel good and peaceful. But if I'm being honest with myself, when I'm cleaning, I'm just like grumbly about, why am I having to clean this? Why didn't somebody else?
Put on a good podcast or worship music. It makes it fun.
It does. That's true. That's true. So with all of that, what sort of efficiency hacks do you have to help in your daily life? Are there efficiency hacks, like little things that you can share with the audience and say, you know what? My life is busy. Our lives are busy. Here are a few little things that I've kind of discovered for myself that help me kind of get through, especially in my busiest seasons of life and busiest seasons throughout the year. These are some efficiency hacks.
I'm a list maker.
Okay,
Before I go to bed every evening, I am making a list of what things are calendared for the next day, what in each of my rhythms, what do I want to accomplish in those, and I'm putting them on the calendar. Because if we don't put them on the calendar, they're not going to happen. Right?
Sure.
So even my 30 minutes of Sabbath, I'm making sure that is prioritized, and when is that going to fit in? And people say, well, I can't take time. I don't have time to take. That is an efficiency hack, because I think what we're missing is that time to re-energize and creating that margin for emergencies or times when you are feeling stressed and you have to take a break. You've got to have that margin in your schedule. So those are probably just making a list the night before, being proactive, not reacting to your schedule, but planning ahead.
Yeah. Somebody once told me that if you don't run your day is going to run you.
Absolutely.
And that resonates with me all the time. I mean, I play that over and over multiple times throughout the week. And sometimes my day does run me. I don't run my day. And sometimes my day, I do run the day. And it's interesting how emotionally I am stronger. I have a clear sense of presence in my head when I've been proactive and planning some of that out. But that just might be just how my brain works, and other people don't. It stresses me out sometimes when I don't have those things kind of organized out. So I believe, in my opinion, we have a false sense of quote unquote balance, because you're always out of balance, and you're always giving a little bit more time to one thing versus the other. So I don't know if we're ever in equal balance, but it goes back to these rhythms. For you though, what are those important things that allow you to keep those rhythms and that balance, if you will, or attempt to do that?
And again, I think everything there's a season, right? And it depends on the season you're in. So you really do have to evaluate your daily rhythms depending on the season you're in and the individual circumstances that are surrounding you at that time.
That's great.
You may have a family issue going on that's got your rhythms off, and you have to reprioritize some things for that season. So looking at the season that I'm in right now, I'm planning a wedding and graduating my child, and so that's a big lane that I'm in for the next 30 days. So my rhythms are
focused on that right now.
That's right, and I'm having to prioritize. I have to make sure that I at least 4 or 5 times a week that I'm exercising, because that's stress management for me. That's Sabbath for me. Making sure I'm getting enough rest. That's a huge rhythm for me. Yeah. Spiritually speaking, breathing and spending time in the Word of God, that grounds me. So those are I call them non-negotiables. And you heard me talk about default versus design. We can default. Our default is going to be largely in part to how our environment has created us to be, our family environment that we grew up in, our work environment every day. That's default. We're just reacting. But we have the opportunity to design our days. And so that's what I try to look at every day as an opportunity to make Jesus bigger, build the people around me up, and I design my days around that. Do I succeed every day? No.
Sure, right.
But that's what a rhythm is, as long as you're characterized by that.
So one of your mantras is speak life.
Yes.
What does that mean, speak life? And what does that look like perhaps for you in your life?
Intention, because Proverbs 18:21 says life and death are in the power of the tongue. So when we're speaking words, whether to ourselves, and I think that's a big thing that we talk about in coaching.
Oh, yeah.
What toxic patterns are there that you're speaking over yourself, right? So we have to address speaking life to ourselves and the giftings and the strengths that we have versus the negativity that can bombard us all the time. Yeah. So speaking life to ourselves, and then to those around us, we have a choice. We can speak criticism and negativity and what we don't like about someone. That's the default.
That is the default.
That is where we default is, especially certain temperaments where my temperament is a critical temperament. So I have to really guard myself against picking out the bad spot on the potato, so to speak, instead of looking at all the yummy. So I think speaking life just means being intentional about my words, pausing before I react.
Yeah. That's great.
And respond with life words.
is there right now in this phase of your life, like a future dream, like, I one day I would like my husband and I to do X or to go X or whatever that is. Is there something that maybe it's not really planned in, but maybe it's a little bit of a dream big for a second for us?
Writing a book is one.
Okay. That's great.
Would love to do that. Not necessarily for everybody to buy it, but just because I enjoy that. And there's a message.
It'd be gratifying for yourself to be able to just get that out and share that message. And I love that.
It's about our stories, right? And getting that out. And then one person might read your book and say, okay, that resonates with me. That's me. So that, and my husband and I are in marriage ministry together, have been since 6 weeks after we were married. And we are marriage mentors in our church with premarital counseling for couples. So we've always talked about doing marriage ministry together, podcasts. We actually have the equipment to do a podcast.
Yeah,
so
come on.
That's something we're dreaming about.
I
for
love
sure.
that.
Yeah,
that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and I think that actually I'll share this with the audience. My wife and I went through a marriage mentorship program. It wasn't before we were married, although we may have done some basic things, but it was after we were married, and it wasn't at a time where we weren't having challenges in our marriage at all. It was earlier in our marriage, but it was more so both of us craving to look and learn from other husbands and wives who we felt led lives that were, important to important in terms of the character and the quality of that marriage relationship and the family. And we had at the time, my son wasn't born, so this was probably 2 of my children were born, so it was probably 12 years ago. And man, how rewarding that was. But our mentors who continue to mentor other couples, and we still are friends with them and talk to them to this day, they talk just about how rewarding that is for them.
Absolutely.
And how it really keeps their marriage in balance in so many
Selfishly,
ways.
Yeah. We do that as well. We're like, this keeps us accountable to.
Yeah, it keeps you accountable, right? Yeah. In that. So important. Yeah. So important.
Well, and the culture's not going to support that. Our culture, unfortunately, is going to put marriage on the back burner. So success for the individual is more important. And that's not how God designed it. So
it's unfortunate, but understood. That's where we find ourselves today in some areas. Well, talk to us about, everyone I think has, whether it's something that's been fundamentally part of you for your life or whether it's something that's just resonating with you now. Do you have a motto, scripture, quote, creed, saying, whatever it might be, anything?
Probably right now, this last year especially, is be fully present with people. Everybody wants to be heard and understood. And I think so often we approach conversations needing to be heard, like we want to be heard, instead of just listening and understanding what's happening in that moment and not trying to move on to the next conversation or the next person or the next thing. So that's something that I'm trying to be intentional about, and just being fully present.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I know from my perspective and so many other friends of mine that I've spoken to, and we've had similar conversations, and we're so distracted by so many different external influences. And even when we're in the room, I'm at home in the living room watching a movie perhaps or having a conversation, my mind is drifting elsewhere. I'm wanting to pick up my phone, right? So I have to be intentional about, okay, that's going in another room. All the phones are going into, we've got this little area in our kind of mud room, laundry room, where all the phones are supposed to go. They don't always go there, but they're supposed to.
Right.
We've even bought devices where we can lock the phone. You can lock the phone in this little thing, and you can time it. 15 minutes, it's locked in there.
Oh wow, that's intense.
Yeah, we've. I wouldn't say it always works, but it's a good tool. So when you look back, and perhaps your closest friends, your family, people that you mentored, that you coached, that you counseled, you look back, and when it's all said and done, and Julie's in heaven with the King. What do you hope people say and reflect about who Julie Miles was?
Well, that's a good one. Probably that when they were with me, they felt the presence of the Lord. And when they walked away from me, they felt better about who they were.
That's good. Because you don't always remember who you meet or what the situation was, but you remember how you felt, right? When you were with them and how they made you feel. Yep. That's great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. I'm just really inspired by what you're doing. I'm inspired by the story you shared about your husband and your home as just a leader in your home, as a husband. And it's something that I continue to strive, and some days are successful and some days fail, but to do and lead in my home. So I just thank you for sharing that. I hope that our audience was inspired by the wisdom that Julie shared, both on the first episode and some of the stories that she shared on today's episode. And just I'll be praying for you and what you're doing. And
thank you so much.
And I'm going to hold you. I might have some accountability here to hold you to that book. Okay. Resurrection Me.
It's on record.
It's on recording, right?
Thank you.
So, Julie, I wish you the very best. For those that want to learn more about Julie and her mission and how her mission is to inspire others, please check out Beauty for Broken Life Coaching and beautyforbroken.com and beautyforbrokenwellness.com. Yep. Right. Both of those. Yep. So I'd like to close with this quote. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. And that was from Pablo Picasso. To all of our subscribers and listeners out in podcast land, I hope today's episode was both empowering and inspirational. Until the next episode, I pray that our daily lives and journeys are filled with opportunities to lift others up as we aim to go above and beyond. Thanks, everybody.
Our executive producer and host is Matt Maloney, President and CEO of FAM360. Strategic Communication Coordinator, Michelle Ducato. Production assistance by Tin Dog Studios. Director, John Berland. Creative Assistant, Whitney Berland. Theme song, Connecting Dots by Curtis Cole, provided by Artlist. Please subscribe today and don't miss any of our weekly episodes.